Hi y'all, I'm back. I keep saying that this is a big day. Well, every day's a big day on this project. And for instance, today I finished this new battery. This is the second one and got a lot more to go. But I still need to neaten up the wires, but I'm testing it and so far it looks like it's working really well. I'm very pleased with the way these are coming out. I'm expanding this project. I also worked on the solar shed today. I've been framing the solar shed. It's coming along great. I'm going to do a video of that one pretty soon because I want to show you some of what we're doing out there before I get it all covered up. I want to show you the bones of it. And then also let you know that we're expanding the project. My friend and I both decided to add 2 batteries each to our projects now, so that instead of 6 of these, we're going to have 8, which is a total of 107 kilowatt hours of power for each one. And let me just encourage you, well, wait, first of all, this video is about the Seplos BMS. This is just an intro. The Seplos BMS, there's been some problems and I want to go over, I've gotten resolution now, I want to go over all that with you. So hold on and I'll let you know what happened with that. But I want to encourage you, when you're planning your project, plan big, because I'm now going and buying 4 more cells, 4 new BMS, more material, more plywood, more hinges, more cabling, and everything, more fuses, more breakers. Everything that I have to buy, I have to go round up, and it's not as easy as just going back and ordering 4 more, because in about 1/3 of the instances, it's not available anymore. Often it's more expensive. And I've spent hours and hours lining up 4 more of everything when I could have just ordered it all up front in the first place. And some of the things I'm not even getting as good a price, because before, when I was ordering 12 of them, I got a price break, and now I'm ordering 4 and I don't get the price break. So let me just encourage you to plan big. So the Seplos BMS. Close my table here. On the discussion forum, the Do-It-Yourself Solar Forum, I started hearing about problems that people were having with their BMS, with their Seplos BMS. And I think that this BMS is about as good as you can buy from China. I don't know of any others that are as good as this one. Now, the problem was that some of them were failing when they were being pushed hard, because there was a diode D4, that was failing on them. And so I contacted my salesperson. Now, my salesperson was really responsive when I was purchasing the BMS. Oh, many times a day. But then I sent him a message and said, you know, I just learned that you have a problem with some of your units, that with one of the diodes, and mine is in the date range where you have these bad diodes. And I have 13 units that I don't want to install in to all these batteries and then have them go bad and have to fix them. So I started communicating with him. First I get a sales pitch, but I started communicating with him, and I'm not going to read all of this. I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of it. So it went on and on. I first communicated with him on I believe it was the 15th of October. So I said, there's a problem, and he said, we'll fix it if there's a problem. And I said, well, I don't really want to install a faulty product and have to fix it later. You know, this is for a client, and I don't want to do that. So they said, we'll send diodes for free. And I said, what about my warranty? And they said, it's still 1 year. We can send the diodes, and we'll send you one free BMS. Can you solder it? And I said, how many diodes are bad? And I will need a letter saying that my warranty is still valid if I do this work. And I'll need instruction about doing the repair. And he said, I will talk to them. And I said, I discovered one of the BMSs that was sent was 150 amp. And so now I will need two 200 amp, one for the extra and one to replace the 150 amp. And he said, we'll send one, and the 150 amp BMS will be your free one for your trouble. And I said, I can't use a 150 amp BMS. You'll need to send two. And they said, we don't have any more right now. We only have one, okay? And I said, no. When will you have more? And they said, I will talk to them. And then, a couple of days later, he said they have been shipped. Now this was over a period of about 2.5, 3 weeks. It took a long time. But I was just persistent. And I said, I have now received them, but I still need a warranty assurance letter about if I do the repair, and I need the instructional video. And while we're on the subject, I need to purchase 4 more of your BMS. So he sent me a letter in my name saying that the warranty would still be valid, and he sent this video. And this video is really very helpful.
首先，第一是两边加吸，加吸之后，
Especially if you speak
花电三
Mandarin.
旁，
The BMS is coated with a protective coating. So what you see him doing is heating up with a soldering iron and some solder, heating up the protective coating and then peeling it off with tweezers, and then heating it up again and
花
peeling it
完
off
之后
with
在
tweezers.
两边加吸，
Now just to the right of the soldering iron, you see a little processor. He's working on the opposite side of the diode from the processor to protect the
加
processor
不上
from
的
heat.
话接着刮，
And he peels it off and he peels it off, and then once he gets it peeled off, he heats it up, melts the solder, and removes the diode. Constantly using a little solder to keep the soldering iron
两边
tinned.
加上吸之后，
And then once he gets it heated
然
up,
后就把它烫下来，
it pulls it loose.
好，取下来之后，
And it's off. Now, he takes the new diode.
两边加吸，
Well, first he
烫
tins
平，
the connections where he's going to
然
reconnect.
后
And he takes
拿
the
出
new
准备
diode.
好的料，
And I don't know if I
注意
spoke
观察
Mandarin if it would
料
tell
的方
me
向。
which the orientation is, but it looks like he just rotated it to get the orientation correct.
好，观察好之后
And then，
先焊一边，
Couple of quick
焊完一边
touches
之
with
后
the soldering
再焊另一
iron
边。
and the diode is replaced.
如果觉得不平的话，可以再把它烫一下，把它烫平即可。好，这样就完成了。
And there you go. All done. Now, in the letter, it says to first off, he communicated with me, and the free BMS what I've learned is the free BMS that they're sending for my trouble is because I purchased more than 10. If you purchased fewer than 10, they only send the diodes. For me, they sent the diodes and one free BMS. And the letter says that the warranty will still be valid after I do the soldering. And that and if the diode replacement damages the BMS and makes it inoperable, that they will replace the BMS with a new BMS. But if that happens, don't do it to any more. Do it, and if it works, then you can keep doing it. But if you have a failure, stop then and communicate with them, and they will send you a new BMS. And that they believe that the product failure rate is going to be 0.3 of 1% of the BMS, so that they don't believe that there's any need for me to do this repair prior to putting this BMS into service. That's gonna be a tough call, because taking the BMS in and out is not gonna be quick. There's a lot of effort involved in that. But I may just go with that. I may just go ahead and put them into service and keep these diodes. I then asked him, which direction does the diode go in? But he was not able to tell me, and he told me that if I have a problem, that he would get his engineer to help me. So I took my tester and I tested the diode on one of the existing BMS, and what I discovered, now the new diodes, they're larger than the existing diodes, higher capacity. And I think that they had just put in, sorry for the fan noise, but this battery is actually charging all those batteries right now. I need to get power off of this battery because it was top balanced and it's full. And I need to get the state of charge down because it's going to sit now for a little while waiting for installation. And I don't want it to be full. I'm going to run it down to about 60%. And I'm doing that by putting the energy into those batteries. So I asked him, if you look at these diodes really closely with a magnifying glass, you can see some writing and you can see a line on one side of the diode. And in my testing, I discovered that that line, when you're looking at the BMS in this orientation with the shunt towards the top and the diode is just down below it, then that line needs to be to the left. So line left, and it's this tiny little diode right there. All right. So how do I feel about a warranty service that includes me using my soldering iron? I think it's outlandish on first blush, but if one of these fails and I have to get it sent to China for them to look into and then send me a replacement back, that battery's out of service for quite some time. If I pull it out and solder a new diode on it, that's less than an hour and I'm done. So for me, and probably most people that are doing DIY at this level, this is probably the better alternative. If this was an American-based company, it'd be no problem. Just stick it in a UPS package and get a new one sent to you right away. But we're on the other side of the world and the shipping right now is just a nightmare. So I think this is probably the better way of going about this. The experience of working to get what I needed was challenging, but I think that as a company, Seplos is a good company, and I think that they have a good product. I think right now the supply chain is causing problems. It's causing us to end up with some of these circuit boards being built with parts that aren't their first choice, but it's what they could find because it's what was available. One other thing I want to talk about before I go. I promised this in a previous video. This, my friends, is a power supply unit that is 0 to 60 volts and 0 to 5 amps, and it failed. I used it for about a month, charging up single cells at 3.65 volts and 5 amps, and then one day I walked in and it wasn't working. It had been working when I left the room, and when I came back it was just dark as you see it now. And I contacted the seller. They were from Alliexpress. I bought this from Alliexpress for about $70, and it was terrible. The experience of working with them compared to the experience of working with Seplos was night and day. The translation, the English was terrible. The English translation was terrible. I was left guessing what they meant many times. I think what they were asking was for me to send them pictures, but they were saying, we send pictures, and then I wasn't getting any pictures. But I think what they meant was, we need you to send us pictures. So that kind of thing went on for a week, or more than 2 weeks almost. And at some point, I just said, what do I need to do to get compensation, to get a replacement power supply unit? This one's not working. And the person got very angry. The tone was very angry. We tried to cooperate and you only want compensation. Well, you seem very angry. What is it that you need me to do? And that's when everything changed. The demeanor changed, and all of a sudden, the English translation changed. I think maybe it escalated and someone else was actually handling it. I'm not certain. But they started asking me for pictures of the circuit board. There was no smell. There was no magic smoke smell, nothing burning smell. There was no visible burning that I could tell. But after I sent them some highlighted pictures, they sent me back some circled images that showed that this and this and this and this were all blown. Basically, your rectifier circuit is blown. You must have hooked it up backwards, or you hooked it up to a battery that had more power than the unit was set for. And I said, well, it was working when I left the room and wasn't working when I came back. And it was set for 3.65 volts, and the battery that it was charging was a 3.2 volt battery, and this was what was going to take the battery up to 3.65 volts. So, after a few more days, she said, and I finally found out it was she said that it also could be that the fan wasn't working, and so it overheated. So she had me, she was basically translating back and forth between an engineer and me, a technical service person, I guess. And so they had me disconnect the fan and feed, I believe it was 5 volts and 0.1 amps into it to see if it worked. And what I told them was that it worked intermittently. When you wiggle this connection, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And she said, we will send you a new one. Do you have an Amazon account? And I said yes, and they said, go to the Wanptek Amazon store. Oh, sorry, bag of diodes for the Seplos BMS. She said, go to the Wanptek store and buy this power supply, and I will reimburse you by PayPal. And so the one that she sent me a link to was a 30 volt, 10 amp. And so I sent a picture of this one again and said, this is a 5 volt, a 60 volt, 5 amp. And that's what I need to do what I'm doing. And she said they don't have one at the Amazon store. So I sent her a link of the this product right here. This is a Wanptek 0 to 5 amp, 0 to 60 volt power supply unit. It's the next version, upgrade version of this one, and costs about $20 more. I said, you have one right here. And she said, you can buy that one and I will reimburse you by PayPal. Just send the receipt and I will reimburse you. And I said, you want me to do that now? And she said, yes, and I did. And about 5 minutes later, she said, my boss says that you will give us a 5-star rating and you will not mention Alliexpress and you will not mention that it is a free gift. You will just give a 5-star rating on Amazon for the product. And then after that is done, a week later, we will reimburse you by PayPal. And I said, that is not what I was told. And she said, I am working with my boss and my boss is saying this, okay? And I said, why is it that the agreement changes right after I send the money? And time goes by. And then she comes back and says, send me the receipt and I will reimburse you from my PayPal account. And after you do the review, then my boss will reimburse me. I hope you know what I'm doing for you. Well, yes, I do. You're living up to the agreement that you agreed to. That's what you're doing for me. So I ordered it, and 2 days later, it showed up from the Amazon store. And it is a nicer unit. It is quieter. It is easier to adjust. It actually has a USB charging port. And I like it a little bit more than this one. And so I gave a review on Amazon. And the review on Amazon said, I got this new BMS. It is better than the old BMS. This new power supply unit, and it is better than the old version of the power supply unit. It is quieter, easier to adjust. I did not mention Alliexpress because I was actually doing a review on an Amazon product. And the experience I had with Alliexpress is not going to be what happens when someone orders this product on Amazon. They're going to have an Amazon experience. So, leaving out the part about Alliexpress is fine. Leaving out all the hours I went through. Listen, folks, if I had just gone to my day job and spent the number of hours that I spent getting this replaced, I could have gotten 2 or 3 of these. But that's not the point. And so I did the review. I made a little video and sent it on the review on Amazon. And if someone were to be shopping for this power supply unit, my review is completely accurate about it. But if I were to give a review on Alliexpress for this power supply unit, it would be closer to what I just told y'all. Last thing I want to say. These 2 things worked out, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they worked out because I never got angry. I never got insulting. I'm working with people in a different culture. I don't even know what is insulting to them. So I'm very careful. And I'm very persistent. And I'm very kind. And I know that they're working very hard. And they're working often under duress because often they're making promises that their bosses aren't willing to keep. And it puts them in a terrible situation. But I just keep being kind and persistent, and so far, it's worked out well for me. I hope that your experiences work out well for you. It's a challenging thing to order these things from China. The shipping to send this back to China, they don't want this back. It costs more to take ship that back than to buy a new one, probably. They didn't ask for it back. They had their pictures. They know it's blown. They don't want it. I'll keep it. And, maybe I'll need some parts from it. Who knows? In any case, that's all for this video. Coming up, I'm going to have a solar shed video, and I'm going to have a video of putting this battery together. Not this one, but one of the many others, because this is the next one. I have a lot of work to do on it, a little bit of work to do on it, really. This is the next one. But now, I've done 2, and I have 14 to go. Thanks, y'all. I'm looking forward to the next one. I want to take you and show you around the solar shed. Y'all have a good day.